All right. Everyone, welcome. Thank you for coming to this symposium, and we're going to do a tour of the exhibit now. So the exhibit is the movement of books. I'm Dr. Porter. I'm the curator of digital humanities at the Schoenberg Institute, and I curated 6 books. So I just want to start off by saying a few words about why the movement of books. And ironically, it's because I am the curator of digital humanities. So I think about movement a lot. The reason that I think about movement a lot is because I think about what digitization does to manuscripts a lot. And if you've ever used a manuscript on a website, in a digital environment, what you are experiencing is photographs of pages of manuscripts that are being fed to you through an interface. Essentially, what digitization does is it takes the book apart, and then you're using the computer to put it back together. But the images themselves are static. Even if you have a page-turning interface that has some kind of implemented, it looks like the page is turning. The page isn't really turning, right? Those images are flat. The book was taken into a lab, and these images were taken in a very controlled environment, and that's what you get. And if you have the book in front of you, it's a really different experience. And I didn't actually realize this until I came to Penn almost 11 years ago. So the first 10 years of my experience, the first 10 years of my career were spent in digital humanities, and I did a lot of work with digitized manuscripts. But I had very little experience with the books themselves. And I'll never forget the first time when I arrived, very first week I was here, I was like, oh, I'm curator, I can like call manuscripts. And so I did that. I called a manuscript, and the manuscript that I called is MS Codex 1058, which that doesn't mean a lot probably to a lot of you, but for those of you in the know, it is a 12th century gloss psalter, so an early gloss psalter. And I had spent a lot of time looking at it online. And that was the first book I called because I was like, oh, this is the coolest book. And I called it, and I was absolutely flabbergasted when it came to the desk in front of me, because it's about this big, it's tiny, right? And I had been looking at it on the screen and zooming in without really realizing that was what I was doing. And so the experience of the book was a completely different thing. That's sort of beside the whole movement thing, but it just shows you like all the things that digitization does. So it was time for me a couple of years ago to think about doing another exhibit. I wanted to do another exhibit because the last exhibit I did was supposed to open on March 30th, 2020. And so that didn't happen. So I needed something to kind of take out. And I thought, at the time I was doing a lot of video. I've been doing video as long as I've been at Penn, but right as we were coming out of the pandemic, I started this thing called Coffee with a Codex, where once a week I go on Zoom and I show manuscripts. And that was this movement again, right? Like showing the book as an object. And so I was like, well, I want to do an exhibit that sort of is about this. And immediately I ran into a kind of parallel problem as the digitization in interfaces thing. And that is that when you put books on display in a gallery, you hold them open to, a single page, and you put them under glass, and you can't move them. So you can see that they're three-dimensional objects, but they're still not moving. And so I was like, what can I do to make an exhibit that's about movement and actually show some movement? How can we get into this? And so, as you'll see, when you go in, you're going to go in around to the left, and the first section that you're going to hit is how books move. And this is really about format, because as I've been talking about books, you've probably been thinking of codex books, which is fair, and I've been actually talking about codex books. But there's more than codex books. So there are several different formats. You'll see how in some cases format and text interact. So there may be different kinds of texts that work better in a roll versus a codex. You can see some examples of this. And then the next section that you'll hit, step across the room. And this is parts of books that move. I think it's something like that. And this is what we think of as movable books. So of course, all books move because you have to move a book in order to use it. But some books move more than others. They're like pop-up books or books with volvels, which are movable diagrams. So there's some examples of those. And then you'll come around the side, and actually on the other, you come in, there's a wall. On the other side of the wall, there's a section on books moving through space and time. Because of course the book moves in front of you, but how did it get to you? What was the process that it went through? And so that part focuses on someone called Sir Thomas Phillips. Some of you see nodding. He was a profligate English book collector. I think at one time he had something like 60,000 manuscripts and 90,000 printed books, huge numbers of books. And what happened was he collected all these books and then he sold them over time, but also he died. And then his books got sold out again. And so the books that he owned are all over, and they have his name in them and his shelf mark. And so you'll see some books in here. In fact, the first book that you see as you go in, if you look at the bottom, there's a Sir Thomas Phillips name there. And there's also, of course, some signage with some information about the Schoenbergs, who are hugely, their collection basically makes this exhibit possible. And Laura Schoenberg was a great collector. And so when you, in fact, if you look at the labels, which I hope you will as you go through, I've tried to include the most recent provenance information about each one. Anyone that has LJS in the shelf mark, that's a Schoenberg manuscript, so you'll see exactly how much of that is in here. There's also a case on moving in fragments, because one of the things that happens to books as they move through space and time is things happen to them. One of the things that happens to them is they get cut to pieces for various reasons. So you'll see some neat examples there. And then in the middle of the room is artist books. So all of the other books, except maybe the movable books, they're books to move because they move. Artists, modern artists, think a lot about what is a book anyway? What are the ways that we can push against that? And there's so much kinetic energy in most of these books. And so there are some artist books, some of which are similar in format and in other ways to other books that are in the room. So I invite you to sort of think about that as you look at them. And then you will probably notice there is a running loop of video. So there's constant movement in the room, and at the table at the front of the room, you'll find some model books, which are sort of models of types of books that you'll see in the cases. So you can actually touch them and get an idea sort of what that feels like. And I invite you to do that. And there's also some fun things you can see. So that's the exhibit. I hope you will come in now and see it. And thank you all so much. I thought Nick was going to open the There's so many steps on my Fitbit. It's like it's from it's quite good. It starts which is my practical word. They do exactly the same thing. That get to the bottom of the page, a lot lower because sometimes they're each other.
So maybe you can tell me who made this wonderful play.
This is made by very talented people at Penn in our fabrication lab. But Dot knows more about Genesis. Dot, we have a question over here.
I just wondered where this came from besides Santa's workshop.
Okay, so this is we call it the Book Automata, and it was made by my colleague Christine Kemp, who's in the education. She works in the education commons. We actually found this on Instagram. There was an artist who had made something like this on Instagram, and he posted the plans. And what we did is we took the basic plan and we replaced the little guys with, these are from our manuscript, MS Codex 724, which is the Bible.
Yeah.
That has some great, actually there's a leaf right there from the Bible.
Oh, it's from that Bible?
Yeah. Oh, other way. There you go. And then the text is from the Psalms. And she did this, and then the flying donkey is also has a flying donkey from the same manuscript. Yeah, it's blue.
Oh, it's sort of,
Yeah, it's blue. If you can see, he's down in the. You can walk around the side.
blue manuscripts.
It's not there. It's printed out. There he is.
I know.
So,
These are cool too.
look at the vowels. The little vowels, and here are some of the model books. These are made by our friends in the Common Press.
And what's the Common Press?
The Common Press it's in the Fine Arts Library. It's the campus sort of early printing. They have early printing. And I think most of them think of them as like having the usable print. They also make amazing books.
So what kind of, that's the
This is a codex. So there's 3 of them. This is I'm not sure
long
what.
stitch kind of,
Yeah,
kind of
binding. And then this one is tightly bound. So if you try to open this one, you can't open it that far because it's tightly bound. And that one that Deborah has is that's loosely bound.
I already know it's Italian because it's 5 by folio.
Right. And then this one, here, let's go. Why don't we go over and look at the case?
Okay. I hope the people on Zoom, we've got 18 Zoom participants who are following us.
You guys here. So this is a palm leaf book, and this is our model palm leaf book. This aren't palm leaves; it's cardboard. Yeah, it's pretty neat. You can like practice your palm leaf.
Yeah.
So the video loop plays, and there's Nick, Nick's arm. You want to start at the first page?
Oh, is this me? Is this me turning this one?
No,
no,
that's me.
that's
I was
you.
saying
Okay.
your arm.
Oh, the shadow. Yes. Okay. We've still got 18 people, so we haven't lost too many. Should we, do you want to, Dot, should I just follow you around, or should we? It's gotten quite crowded, and there's a good vibe. We're following Dot. We have people on Zoom following us. 18 people.
Yes, that's our tiny.
LJS 41. It's probably a little too deep class.
Very little book of Esther. I don't think you can.
Pleased to see the child. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Oh, good. No, I was really happy that Arthur said it was okay for me to take it for a solo. Yeah.
And how were they able to make such tiny, fine?
You know what?
Yeah.
I don't. They have a very tiny, fine nib of a pen. I think.
When was this one?
This is 15th century Italian. And this is the same text. So this is the Book of Esther in a roll, which is the traditional way to have it, because usually it's read out loud during Purim celebration. And so we have several of these rolls. Having it in a little form like this is a little different, because it's obviously not made for reading out loud. That's a declaration. It's a different kind of purpose. This one is a genealogy. It's the generation of Adam, the genealogy of Christ from Adam. And it is in a codex form, which is a little unusual, and we'll show you another genealogy in a minute. Genealogies are often, yeah, here, it's on the wall, are often in a roll form. Sorry, because the genealogy never ends, right? You start with Adam and Eve, and in this case, it's going to go all the way to Edward VI, King of England. We only get the first part because we couldn't put the whole 36 feet.
And just to be clear, this is a replica. This is a sticker.
It's not the real thing. But it's just to show the difference between having a genealogy in a roll versus
But we do have the original on view in the Lee Library.
We do, but that doesn't do them any good.
No, that's true.
And here we have another roll. This is a Gaia's protective roll. So this was a roll that actually would have been hung up in a house to protect from evil spirits if someone was sick. So that's what this is for. It's a different kind of.
And it's the direction of the text is different.
Yeah, the direction of the tactile it's a scroll, so it comes down. And this is a book of hours. It's just an example of a codex. Most people know what a codex looks like, but that's nice. And then this is an accordion book or a concertina. So this is made similarly to a scroll or a roll. It's a long piece of, in this case, mulberry paper. But instead of being rolled, it's folded. So you can turn it like it's pages like a book, but you can also pull it out to have larger pieces. It's actually a really interesting format because it's flexible in a way that other formats aren't. And then this is just pretty. We just put this on the wall because it's pretty. This isn't from our collection. And then here we have again the palm leaf book. So this is from India, circa 1800. And this is a really typical like Indic South Asian format made with palm leaves, with string going on. And something that's interesting is that other formats of Indic books are the same format, that is, they're sort of pieces that are sometimes with string or just bound together. And it's because they're used to palm leaves, and then when they use paper or something else, it's the same format because that's what they're used to. Sort of fun. And then the last one, this is an example of fold outs. We've all seen fold outs. And it's one of the limitations of a codex book is that you can only make so much room in it. It's not like an accordion book where you can sort of pull it out and roll and scroll. So we do this kind of folding out.
And it's the Danube.
It's the Danube, and I love it because if you've ever read the book or the story The Willows, which is sort of it's a horror story about a man who is moving down the Danube. The way he describes the Danube is always a little confusing to me. Because I was like, it's a river. What's the big deal? What's the big deal with the river? And then you see this, and it's like, oh, it's actually really messy. Like, no wonder. It's a great setting for like a cosmic horror kind of story.
We've been in this corner. Okay. It's a very chatty group of visitors. We are moving here. Okay.
All right, so this is what parts of a book. So this is the movable book section. It happens to include the only book in the room that is from Philadelphia. Everything else came here from this one. Speaking of the movement. So it's not this one. You guessed it. I was going to say it's not this one. 16th century book from Italy, which contains several volvelles. So volvelles are a kind of movable diagram. You can see they're cut in circles that are attached to the paper pins. And what you do is you can move the different sections. And they were often used for calculating things. So you see them a lot of astronomy, because you can calculate for, in this case, we've got the zodiac. So the signs of the zodiac, and the orbits of whatever, I don't know. I'm not a restaurant. This one is.
I'll just move over this way.
All right, here we go. This is the Deliver and Running Guide, which was made in the 1960s by a very well-known book artist, Wojciech Kubasta. And when you open the book up, he is here in the mirror. I guess it's a looking glass. He falls back onto a little. But things fit here. There's a video of it though, so if you watch the video for long.
But it's kind of hard to see, but we'll explain that again. So this is, there's an opening where the O is. The board is a kind of board.
Yeah, in the front. And so he's there, and when you open it, the cup, he falls back into a little here.
By the action of moving.
By the action of moving.
Okay.
Here, the Jolly Jump Ups. This was a very popular series of pop-up books for the Jolly Jump Ups family that traveled around. And so here they've gone to the Grand Canyon. And I like the design of the canyon. Yeah, I can see it by there. And then here, this is a very simple Christmas card from John Wannaday, which was a store in Philadelphia. And it's very simple. It's just he pops up and he opens, but it's the earliest one that we had in 1927. Sorry, Donna. The other one. No special, so I'll get the dumb one. So this is the artwork, circa 1600. This is a cipher book. And the page that we're looking at here, what we're looking at is that right page. So there's a green line. On the page, it's a string. And so what this allows you to do is select an alphabet. It uses special characters. So you say, I want the E alphabet, you string and then around the bottom of the page, which is on the right side, there's the whole alphabet. You can select for whatever letter you're replacing. And then you send it to someone, you can say, I'm using the alphabet, tell them what it is, and then they can figure out what it is. No one else can. Very tricky.
This scene is
and this is about books moving through time and space. So we have Sir Thomas Phillips here on the phone. And the facsimile pages from various manuscripts we have, and you can see his signature on the bottom. And then he also had a book plate that he used. So all of those, if you see those, they're very recognizable. Signature. That's on JF 101. And then of course we have Schoenberg. We're not be here without long-time supporters of Penn Libraries. Their collection was donated to us in 2011, and we love them, and a lot of them are here in the books. And then the book that we have is not actually from the collection of Sir Thomas Phillips. This is kind of the opposite almost. This is a mid-15th century notated breviary that was made in Cologne and was used in the Cologne Cathedral through the 18th century. So it was in one place for a very long time and in use. And you can see the signs of the here, so you can see where sections were cut out and replaced much later. This is a night office, and so there's wax drippings from the candles, and it's a little hard to see through the glass. And there's notes at the top, and there's page numbers that are much older than the. So a really good example of.
These are captions, things that have been changed, correct?
Yeah.
Liturgy.
Liturgy changes. There's also examples, I don't know if it's here, but where, words have been like struck out and then replaced.
And is this, am I correct in saying that this would give a nice animation or stop
Yeah.
video?
There's a sound video. It's included. I keep mentioning the video loop, which is on YouTube. So we'll share it with you.
But showing this spine.
Spine moving.
You rarely.
Yeah, so that's.
Maybe for large.
Yeah. Right. Well, two more.
Okay, we're good. We've got an audience. So
Still
that's
have an
good.
audience,
Yeah.
great. So this is moving in fragments.
Okay.
So these are some examples of how books survive today in a different way than they were because they got taken apart for some reason and in cases reused. So down here, so this is a printed book, but you can see there's a paste down here that's from an older manuscript. So this is a medical encyclopedia copied in the 1200s. So at some point, they said, well, we don't need this. So the book itself got cut and then they used it in bindings.
It looks like it's folded up a little bit.
So it was a big, this is interesting. So it was the size of the page is bigger than what they needed, but instead of cutting it, they folded it. So the paste down, this is pasted down, and then the rest of it is kind of loose. It's not pasted down. I could reach in and sort of move it around. And I see a lot of paste downs. This is unusual to me. And then this one is another circa 1200. Now this was reused as a binding of a book. It was wrapped around a book. So you can see the way the corners are cut. And then there are folds that go down here and around here. You can imagine there was like a little book and this was wrapped around it. And you can even kind of see the spine because of the folds there.
And that's just kind of dirt and wear that leaves that trace, right?
Right, that leaves a trace because that's where it would have been rubbed. It was on the book.
So that shape, and we have quite a few fragments.
We have a lot of fragments,
like many places do.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, often that means that they've been taken away from their original context. What book they were used to. To protect.
Yeah. These days we wouldn't take them out. We'd leave them there. So that's a little different.
And then here, what have we got?
Okay, so this is a leaf from a book of hours. And unlike the other ones, this was probably, because it's very clean, it was probably cut out on purpose to be an art object. So there's there is and there has been a resale.
Quite beautiful.
Isn't it beautiful? That initial is really nice. I can kind of see why someone would want to cut it out and hang it on the wall. We don't do that, or we don't like to do that. But certainly we have several of these. All right, and the last one, this is probably my favorite one. This is LJS 460 and LJS 7 Schoenberg manuscripts. But it's actually, in a way, it's one manuscript. So at some point in the past, there was a larger book, and it was cut apart, cut into pieces and sold piecemeal. And Larry Schoenberg bought some quires. And then years later, another quire came on the market and he recognized that it was from the same book and he bought it too. So now we have these two sections of what was once a larger book. And this just doesn't happen a lot. Like it amazes
So
me.
excited. They were so excited.
I can imagine. And I get excited just doing this because we talk about fragmentology and the studying fragments and bringing them back together, but it's usually virtual. But actually having the physical,
That's
physical fragments.
a great way to end. Well, but there's one more case we have to see. Okay. All right. Well, let's go continue. So here we're in the middle of the room, modern art book.
So So as I sit outside, book artists think a lot about books. And it's like, what is a book? How can we do this? And so it's actually meant to be a So we have 4 very different ones. So this one is one of my favorites. I say that about every time. It's on the video. So it's a Jacob's ladder. Yeah, sorry. It's Jacob's ladder.
All right.
And this is no never on this side. But then there's yes please on the other side. And so you flip it and it goes from yes please to no no.
And this is Emily, book artist. We just bought.
That's fun. Emily. There's that. And then here is down here.
And what does this one do?
The flower gets bigger. So it starts out with a little bud, and you can sort of see what look like teeth in here. It's the flower getting bigger and bigger, and then when you get to the end, it's a full flower.
And can you turn this book? Can you sort of put the covers together?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. And then this one up here.
And this is your ticket. Thanks. See, it's got all the ticket here. Tickets, and it's also got.
Here we go. You can see.
If you turn around, the case for there's an accordion.
This one that we looked at
And this
earlier.
is also an accordion.
So they
go to their neighborhood.
I think you can see the ticket, the admit one tickets, right? It's literally made a booklet of tickets. I love that.
It's fun. And then this last one is another a tragedy of King Lear. This kind of goes in an interesting way with the LJS 64, which has the Volvels in it, because the way that she conceives of King Lear is he's like the power around other characters orbit around him. So the vision here is that sort of orbit, and it's got the same kind of idea. It's tragedy,
So Dot, we've done the whole.
We've done the whole
tour.
thing.
Do you have any other anything else to say other than that people should come and see the exhibition before
The 13th of December.
the 13th of December when it closes?
I just that the next time you take a book off the shelf, you will think about it in a little bit of a different way. Think about it in regards to this.
Thanks everyone for joining us on Zoom. Join us again tomorrow morning. Everyone's saying thank you. Thank you, Dot. And we'll see you tomorrow morning on Zoom.